Welcome to the Occupy Democrat Show. My name is Mark Bland.
And I am Jason Cole.
And it's been a hell of a weekend, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a bit of time since we last saw you. We are now doing our new days, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Central Standard Time for the Occupy Democrat Show. And we want you guys to share, tell your friends, go like, and do everything with the podcast that you possibly can. Tell everybody.
Go crazy.
Go crazy.
Do it.
Kind of like they did with the No Kings protest. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
That was a pretty successful thing that popped off this weekend, Jason,
there.
and you and me.
We
You and
were
me
there.
got out there a little bit.
Yeah.
So we got something we'll talk to people about. But that all came on the heels of some information that we found out in the beginning of Saturday morning. And in a shocking act of political violence, Minnesota State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband, Mark, were fatally shot in Saturday morning in what Governor Tim Walz called a politically motivated assassination. State Senator John Hoffman and his wife were also shot by the same assailant, identified as 57-year-old Vance Bolter. Both survived and are recovering after surgery. Bolter, a security company director, allegedly impersonated a police officer using a fake police vehicle and uniform. President Trump vowing prosecution. Minneapolis has increased security for public officials, and a shelter-in-place order was issued. But as you can see there, crawling around in a... Remember when we did the famous discussion about if a war broke out between people of today, the Gravy SEALs, and actually trained military people, it would always end up with those guys like all in a circle in the middle of a field talking about their battle plans because everything's based off of the 1700s and everyone in the field marching at each
You
other.
gotta meet up first.
And so, like, as you can see, here's our friend Vance. He was caught in the middle of a field.
Yeah, he's out crawling in high
Crawling
grass.
around where they use drones to find him, just like they would in that war we're talking about. They could pop off.
Some lady driving by.
That's
saw him out
right.
in the middle of the
There
field.
it is, Gravy SEALs. All of you with your great ideas on how you're going to take out all of these people. But take his picture off the screen. We don't need him anymore. Nobody cares about him. He's a loser. He's an idiot. He's a fanatic, is what we call those.
That's what he is, yeah.
And you guys don't understand that Donald Trump has created fanatics. We've now been saying it on this show. We famously did on our old show an entire episode of the show called The American Purge. Literally because the idea was the way he's going and talking, it sounds like eventually he wants there to be a purge, like a 12-hour period where all crimes are legal, just like you see in the movie. That's what he's trying to get at. He loves movies. He might think that this is a real thing they tried somewhere before this, Jason.
He thinks all movies are documentaries.
Basically,
so confused.
That's what it seems like. But now we have people who aren't the president of the United States. They're not even the governor of the state.
No.
These are lower-end individuals others just find out about in their states. People like me and Jason that are doing this show from here in St. Louis that might find out about Mark and Jason's whereabouts or background or whatever, and they just don't like what they hear out of their mouths. So then they take it upon themselves to pretend to be a police officer? Is your job so ingrained in the conservative mindset and in people's heads that you are trustworthy at all times to the point where they will use you as a Trojan horse? They will dress as you to fool others so that they can get... There you go, police officer who's been told you got to be an ICE deportation agent now. There you go. Remember, mask up, don't have any identifying marks on you, this, that, and the other. Then every other day of the week, you're wearing all identifying marks. They need your help. They love you. They think that you're a great person. Okay. We're back. Now I've got people who are state speaker of the houses, Democrats specifically, getting shot and killed. By the way, tried to kill two others right before he killed those two.
Had a list of like 45 to 50 people.
And I think Tim Walz and others were on that list.
He was. Other congressmen from other states, interestingly enough, were also on the list. There were a couple from Ohio.
You know what my favorite piece of information I found out about our friend Vance Bolter is?
Yes.
Vance is a pastor.
Yes.
Of evangelical. Oh, the evangelicals that rock with Donald Trump. Yep.
Yep.
Same ones. The same ones that have to believe in blind faith for everything. Guys, I love my name's John Mark. I don't care. I'll tell you my name. My name's John Mark. I got a brother. His name's Luke Matthew. We literally grew up in a house where this was our life. But we also know the difference between the moral aspects of the Bible and the literal aspects of the Bible. And it seems like the fanaticism in the evangelicals, Jason,
They
goes
lose that
towards
part,
that side every time.
Yeah, I mean, I almost want to slow everyone's roll, too, about this guy. He was not a Democrat. He was not a far-left psycho like
Nope.
some senators from Utah would have you believe. This man was a registered Republican. The last vote he had was in 2022, and he voted Republican.
Oh, but Jason, he was put onto a panel by Tim
was.
Walz. He was put
was.
on, so he must be Tim Walz's director of human whatever, and he has
Well,
to be his
see-
best friend, and they have to go on vacations together, Jason. That's how it has to be.
See, that's what's so confusing for these guys is because Tim Walz put someone on a bipartisan panel. Those guys can't see past their own party
They can't.
to understand, oh, you can do that. You can put other people from another party.
You mean that you could be Tim Walz, not know who these 40 different appointees that have to be appointed all at once, and you're going to sign off on it, not with an auto pen. Nope.
Yeah, it doesn't
Just
sound-
going to sign off on it, and 40 different people got put into positions. But here's the thing. They're not my best friend.
No, I doubt he even knew him personally. He may knew of him. And
Right, that's what I'm saying. They didn't go to my wedding with me. Like, what are you talking about, people out there? You think that because you're friends with people on Facebook and you're interconnected and can get to them on the internet, you still live in their world? No. John Cena doesn't. You can't see him. The Rock is not going to come hang out with you because you send a tweet his way. Guys, your world is so wrapped mentally. We have no idea how you even live a day-to-day life in reality. We really have no clue.
I mean, it's a perfect example of you don't necessarily know everyone. You know,
You
Tim Walz
don't.
appoints this guy to this board, but didn't know this guy's a homicidal maniac. He didn't know that he had tendencies to murder.
Of course
you know?
not.
It sounds like
By the way,
Vance's former roommate knew that he had tendencies to murder. He claims that he is a full-fledged Trump supporter.
Well, his
and that's a former
his neighbor,
roommate, not
his
me.
neighbor who literally lived next door to him was his best friend and said that if you called him a Democrat, he would really hate that. Those were his exact words out of his
That's who we're
neighbor's
dealing
mouth.
with. And let's not fool ourselves. Ever since 2015, year by year, political violence is ramping up.
Yep.
You look at instances
Since
where
what year?
Since 2015.
2015.
Yeah.
What happened in 2015,
That
Jason?
was
That
the-
seems like a weird year because, presidents, they get elected on those even years like
That's-
2010
It
or
was
like
a
2016.
golden escalator moment.
Oh,
someone
who was that came down a golden
it
escalator?
was
Jay?
Donald J. Trump.
Donald Trump entered the picture
From that moment on, instances
of political violence.
that the Capitol Police have investigated has tripled nearly. It's
Tripled.
thousands a year that never used to happen.
There it is, guys, because of Republicans not understanding that Paul Ryan exists. You can be Mitt Romney. You can be a
Yeah.
Republican who has conservative values, but you don't have to be off the reservation, as they like to say, when it comes to
Yeah.
other aspects of the world. Like, we're going to talk about Donald Trump and the Iran-Israeli conflict getting
Yeah, that's
ready
fine.
in a second here. And I want people to pay attention. I have something specifically to say in regards to that, Jay. But like, guys, this is scary.
Yeah.
This isn't Donald Trump or J.D. Vance getting shot at. This isn't one person way high up on the totem pole that you're never going to see. These are people that lived in these communities
this
that
is
walk
state
around with
level.
you. They could have made this decision at the middle of a grocery store at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on this person.
I mean, it's not to say that Donald Trump is running around telling his supporters to do these things.
Of course
I'm not
he's not.
saying that. But what I am saying is he doesn't care if they do.
Right.
And that's almost worse.
It's way worse, Jason.
You know what I mean? Like, he's not
because you're
directing it.
giving them the pat on the back. You're
Yes.
saying, I don't care.
You know, and I think we've played video before of him saying, when he was running in 2016, that he'll pay for legal bills, rough him up, all this kind of stuff. So he's not opposed to this.
Now,
So don't let him fool you.
to Donald Trump's credit, this is not Donald Trump's fault directly, himself.
No.
He wasn't involved. Nobody around his team specifically was involved in any of this. There was no conversations with anybody that led to these things.
Well, and the things that
he
guy,
doesn't know the Vance guy.
as I
Like,
say, the things that he was upset about is stuff that people on the right have been upset about for years. It was like abortion stuff and things like that. So
but Tim Walz should be mad. Tim Walz should be mad because Tim Walz, by the way, before we get off of this topic, Jason, you brought in an amazing piece of video.
Yes.
That I want everybody to watch in regards to this topic specifically.
Like, before we play this video, so one of the easiest jobs a president has is supporting those in times of trouble and tragedy. Leadership.
Correct.
Showing up and being a supportive voice. Even just a hand on the shoulder.
Yeah, just even a voice of reason, of something, just something there so they have something firm to hold on
literally
to.
the easiest job is comforting those in times of tragedy. Let's watch Donald Trump completely fail again at this moment.
On Minnesota, there were a lot of horrific details that came out today about the suspect who's been charged there. Have you called the governor yet or been able to speak to any of them?
I don't really call him. He appointed this guy to a position. I think the governor of Minnesota is so whacked out. I'm not calling him. Why would I call him? I could call him and say, hi, how you doing? The guy doesn't have a clue. He's a mess. So, I could be nice and call him, but why waste time?
How dare you wear a blue
Right.
tie? How dare you wear a blue tie when you made that comment at all?
He's such trash. And you know what, MAGA? If you support him, you're trash too. You're a trash person with a shitty personality.
I'm sorry. Listen, here's the deal. He wants governors and states to vote for him. Everybody keeps talking about like Donald Trump's going to be in the 2028 election. Guys, 3.5 years, he's done with the Golden Dome. His term is over. There is no third term for Donald Trump.
No.
There's nothing on the boards for it. There's no plan on him being the guy that anyone's running against. I don't know why anyone would pretend like this. So a Donald Trump sitting there blowing off governors and acting as if they don't matter really hurts your party a lot. Because here's an entire state, and that's the biggest city in that entire state, and this is the governor of that state, and you're basically blowing off. And so here's the deal. The millions and millions of blue states and blue people in blue states, you think, oh, I've just got enough land mass. Once again, it's not about land mass. It's not about amount of red that land represents. It's physical power and influence and locations of power and influence. You don't have it. You just had a lot of people come out and a bunch of other people get mad. And that's the problem. You don't want to call Tim Walz because he was just the other guy.
Yeah. Well,
The other half of the coin when I was running for president of the United States.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to be bitter and petty about dumb things when technically I should be worried about the people who need hurricane relief in South Carolina and North Carolina. I need to worry about the people in L.A. with the L.A. fires. I need to worry about the stuff with the state of Minnesota and stuff like this. Like, these are the things that I need to be focusing on.
Yeah.
Instead, we are telling people we're not going to call our governors, that they suck as human beings,
calling
Jason.
them names and acting like
Calling
a
them
complete
names.
idiot.
Yep. Being petty.
Really failing at the easiest part of the job. There's no decision making in this. There's nothing you have to do that's difficult.
That's
You
right.
just have to call a group of people and tell them all how sorry you are.
That's all you got to do.
And you failed at that.
But he fails. He fails at a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to our next topic, Jason.
Yes.
Because now that we've outed Donald Trump for the failure that he is, for not calling the governor of a state,
Yeah.
his one of his states that he represents.
It's on par for his party. There were other people that were.
If you could
callous
bring
about
up media number 2, get ready for it. It should say number 2 on my stuff. President Donald Trump abruptly left the G7 summit in Canada early on Monday as tensions between Israel and Iran escalated. Israel's ongoing airstrikes targeted Iran's nuclear sites have failed to destroy the fortified, what does it say? Fordo facility, which may require U.S. bunker-busting bombs and B-2 bombers to eliminate. Trump warned Tehran to curb its nuclear ambitions, urging immediate talks, and ominously called for the city's evacuation on social media. We'll show that in a second here. The G7 leaders issued a joint statement demanding Iran never acquire nuclear weapons and called for de-escalation in the Middle East. Trump's departure skipped key meetings on Ukraine and trade, signaling a preference for unilateral U.S. action over G7 consensus. Global crises, including Trump's tariffs, risking economic slowdown, and unresolved wars in Ukraine and Gaza, added to the summit's tensions. Trump's push against isolationism highlighted the high stakes of evolving conflicts that he is dealing with. Now, a couple things I want to show here, Jason. We got a few things to talk about. The first thing is I want to show a video of Donald Trump. When he got to the G7, he had to go on one of his famous Donald Trump rants where he's just bloviating and blathering on about everything. But The Prime
Never making
Minister of
sense.
Canada seemed to be standing there, and take a look.
All Democrat-run cities, and they think they're going to use them to vote. It's not going to happen.
Thank you. If you don't mind, I'm going to exercise my role, if you will, as G7 chair, since we have a few more minutes with the president and his team, and then we actually have to start the meeting to address some of these big issues. So, alors merci beaucoup pour vos questions.
Yep, we're done. That's fine. That's enough there. He's like, we're done. We've got meetings and things that we got to get to. We got to talk to Donald Trump and his team for a couple minutes before this
guy won't shut
meeting
up.
starts, and then this guy won't shut up. Like, he can't stop talking about. By the way, all of those things that I listed off, Middle East tensions where there's escalation and de-escalation that needs to happen, Ukraine and Gaza, sounds like everything Donald Trump has been involved with creating over the last 6 months, Jason.
It's just getting worse.
I've got 7 other countries other than the United States that are involved in talks, right?
Yeah.
One of them has been kicked out. Now I got 6 other nations. So it's called the G7. Those nations are in talks, and they're like, yeah, Tehran and Iran does not need to have nuclear weapons. But we've got 15 things this dude screwed up and created over here.
He gets there and then immediately starts complaining that they kicked Russia out years ago.
Right.
Like, what are you doing? We
Why
kicked
are they
them out
worried about
because
that?
of what they do. They invaded a country back then. It's like, boom, you're out. And
Not
he's
only that, he also
whining
tried to
about it.
blame Justin Trudeau for it.
Yeah, we weren't
And
even
Justin
Prime Minister
Trudeau, not even an American politician, hadn't even been elected to his position as prime minister yet when all that went down. It was under the Obama years. So Trump is just off the, once again,
He's just
gone.
He's the worst president to have at this time because of who he is, how he operates, the lack of self-control, the lack of awareness, the lack of care to know anything.
Can I show more of how he likes to lose self-control?
Oh, let's do it. I love
A
when he
lack
flips
of
out.
self-control. Could you put up my tweet with the highlighted yellow on it? It looks pretty. There it is. Donald Trump then, after leaving the G7, tweeted this out, everybody. Iran should have signed the deal I told them to sign. What a sham and a waste of human life. Simply stated, Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. Well, that's what the G7 said also. Cool.
It is,
Great.
yeah.
I said it over and over again. Okay, great. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran.
Don't tell that man anything unless you want it broadcast.
All right, let's play it from both sides of the coin, Jay.
Yeah.
This is kind of why you and me are here. This is why we're good. We'll talk about some Gavin Newsom stuff here that I showed that Brad thing in a minute. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But, okay, if I was working with the Israelis closely and we were going to bomb Tehran or attack Tehran in some form or fashion,
Yes.
the last thing I need to do is signal chat this up like Pete Hegseth
Exactly.
and go announce to everybody that Tehran needs to be evacuated.
Well, and there are only so many ways that missiles can come in. Like
Sure.
they're going to have their guard up. They're going to be ready. Like,
By the way, those missiles, ladies and gentlemen, they cover large swaths of area. I don't know if you've noticed that when some of these nuclear warhead-style missiles hit these areas, and that's not a nuclear warhead, I'm just talking about these bombs, these missiles hit these areas. Yeah, they'll clear out 200-300 people at a time. So now I've told 9 to 10 million people in Tehran at 3 o'clock in the morning,
get out.
get out. Your whole no. And listen, it wasn't just, hey, we got to clear the streets for the next 24 hours to fix a problem with bed bugs around the country. Like,
right.
no.
We're going to fumigate later.
He said, you need to evacuate, which basically means take your life with you, jump
Hit
into
the
a
road.
car, and everybody leave at once on the
Right.
only roads that exist. Duh, you've all been to concerts. You've been to your favorite concerts and still got pissed off having to leave out of the
Right.
concert in a parking lot. I did that with Metallica a few
did.
years ago. It was crazy.
Try leaving a parking garage.
Yeah,
when
I was
the
trying to leave
streets
a
are
parking
packed.
garage downtown at 1 o'clock in the morning. It was fine. Like, there was nothing going on. 3 o'clock out of a dead sleep, I have to evacuate my whole life. At the worst part, he's horrible as a business partner because he's going to let everyone know your plans.
Yes.
That's one side. Jason, the other side is if he's with you, he's reckless.
Yeah, he's not
He's
worth it.
reckless with his words.
Yeah.
The way he does it, he's the most powerful man on earth, supposedly. No one really respects him anymore. But at the same point, when they hear that that man said something, there could be weight behind it. It would be the same as if Putin said, "Get ready, Shanghai, because I'm getting ready to
coming over there.
some booms and pops are coming your way," and you'd be like, "Whoa,
You know,
that's nuts."
I will not be surprised if by the end of today we have joined in with our missiles and our bunker busting bombs, like you were talking about, in this battle.
Now,
I will not be surprised at all.
No, we are not surprised. We are actually engaged in watching as we speak. Donald Trump supposedly says that he's got
an announcement coming up some point.
He's
today.
got an announcement coming up. I'm looking here just to see if there's been any announcing or any Trump anything that has come from him. I'm sorry, Jay. Go on.
No, I was gonna say you lay out everything about his personality, and then at the end add most powerful man in the world, and it's almost frightening.
Like,
this man has no morals, no empathy,
unconditional surrender. That's all he posted was unconditional surrender. Like,
does
what
that
are you
even
talking
mean?
about?
What are you talking about?
Let Iran and Israel talk. Let them handle their business.
You know, it would be.
You're not that guy.
It would be such a shame if there wasn't a deal that could have been set in place before that stopped Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. Maybe something that was signed in with a bunch of other countries and us, and we all worked together, and it was you know what? I feel like there was, and
Jason.
something was, and someone
There was.
stopped it. I think.
There was another one, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, we had a deal. We had a deal done.
Live
and he
on
came
air. I
and
don't mind.
mucked it up.
I don't care. They put their everybody else. Midas touch it. Everybody gets to put their coffee
ever
cups
seen a
up here.
coffee
I
mug?
don't have an Occupy.
I'm drinking coffee though.
I need an Occupy Democrats coffee mug right here so I can have water or whatever I want.
There
It
you
could be
go.
like,
Yeah.
I could do it like Dean Martin used to.
Yeah,
Put a little
fill it with
apple juice.
spirits. Apple juice.
Little
Pretend it's
apple juice
whiskey.
and pretend it's whiskey
act
and keep
drunk.
doing. I also had some other things I wanted to put up. Do you have something for media number 4? It was a number 4 on mine. And I think that lays in with what we are discussing here with Israel and Iran. This was a message Donald Trump also tweeted out, Jason. It was sent by Mike Huckabee, right? His former fun buddy from his first term,
Yeah.
who he helped his daughter, Sarah, get the press position that Carolyn Levitt has now. And
Yeah. Made her governor.
evidently, Carolyn Levitt's not going to become the head of or the governor of some state that's probably into racism or something.
Yeah.
It's
I hope
possible.
not America.
It's possible. It's potential. But he wrote this long thing. I'm not going to make you all read it. We'll leave it up on the screen. But basically in here, he says that God talked to him, Jason,
Yeah, he does.
and told him how to handle the Iran-Israeli conflict. God told him that he needs to take out Tehran.
So God's choosing sides.
God's choosing sides now, not free will anymore. He has totally chosen sides. I know all
God's
of
intervening
the,
on-
I know all the layouts of everyone's life and how it's going to go,
Right.
and I've decided to side with these people over those. That's
You know the problem with people like Mike Huckabee is there's a lot of religions.
there is
Someone's going to be wrong.
at some point you would think.
So Mike Huckabee, it's awful presumptuous of him to think that God on
Maybe Vance
his
Bolter
God-
figured that out, that he was
Right,
wrong. Like he
right,
just
like-
was with the wrong religion. He had no idea. So he's like, all right, last ditch effort.
You
I
know,
don't.
so to say this, it's just it's ridiculous. It's completely stupid. It's
But once again,
2025.
why
Come on.
would you put out that God has anything to? We're not against God. No one's against God.
No,
Once again,
I just
not a
don't
war
think
on
he does
Christmas.
that.
There's no war on Christmas.
I'm just not
No
sure
one's
God's
against
choosing
God.
sides on whether Iran gets
God's
a
not
nuclear
choosing
weapon or
any
not.
sides, guys. John
'Cause, you
Mark
know,
over
God-
here.
Here's the thing.
He's not choosing sides. My dad's not choosing sides. I'm telling you
if
straight up,
God
he's
was
not choosing
if
sides.
God was so against Iran getting a nuclear weapon, couldn't God just give heart attacks to all the scientists?
If God didn't want him to have it, why would he allow them to have the
Why would
things?
he allow
Why
him-
would he allow Israel to have them?
Right? Why does he?
Wait. Does Israel have nuclear weapons?
They do.
Wait a second. So let me get this correct. A bunch of people who don't even believe in my son, Jesus for all of you Latino people in the world,
Yeah, they think he's a prophet.
right? They have no respect for Jesus. Any of the books about Jesus, any of the stories about Jesus, anything that has to do with Jesus, nothing to do with it. They want nothing to do with it. They don't care. but they want America to be their number one ally, Jason, with all of its big military abilities. Now,
Yes.
I just asked you if they had nuclear weapons. You said yes, they do. But Tehran can't have nuclear weapons. So now God chooses people that hate his family. Think about this, guys. We're running this down live on the Occupy Democrat Show. God chooses people that hate his family members, Jesus specifically, and go out of their way to state they dislike Jesus, right, Jason? They have. We've even had people on our show that say they don't look at him as an important anything in this culture. He's barely a prophet. Like he's the
That's what they
lowest
have him, yeah.
rung of the prophet options and stuff. So like, okay, even the people that talk about him in other countries where we're not near Gaza, we're not near Israel, they even don't like Jesus. Okay, so everyone in that world doesn't like Jesus. But God is going to be on the side of the people that have that nuclear weapon. He won't give one to Tehran. And Tehran people haven't said nothing, the white devil, but they also have God in the Quran. Like God himself is in the Quran. They look up to God. God exists in the all-powerful, omnipresent, omnipotent thing that he is.
You know,
Do you see how murky? That's why you brought up the religions.
Yeah.
I went on that little rant for a second. Do you see how murky it gets, Jason? Like, do you see how murky these levels get? How it's kind of like a lot of blurred lines for a lot of information?
well, in Iran are, obviously a terrorist sponsor. They're bad people. But
They are.
They've allowed inspections of their nuclear facilities. I don't believe Israel has.
Guys, I said on the show on June 12th, we now have June 12th. We had October 7th, and we were all supposed to cry because the world got attacked on October 7th. And it was the mean, horrible people. And then you guys attacked them back and wiped out Gaza. So they got their comeuppance again, to attack them. And now you're still arguing about Gaza and all this stuff. But now it's about nuclear weapons with Iran, who, by the way, Iran hadn't attacked anyone at this point yet.
No, I mean,
I'm not defending Iran. I'm saying they hadn't attacked him, just like Israel on October 7th. Nobody had attacked Iran. Iran haven't attacked anybody. Like
No,
it was
not
just
directly.
Like,
They used their
out of the
proxies.
blue, we attacked Tehran and Iran. Now I get it. The connection to Hamas. I get it. I understand. But Gaza's way over here. Tehran's way over there. You're blowing up at all of it. And your first thing is God told us to do it. We're God's children. Well, the same Jesus that Donald Trump supposedly looks up to, Netanyahu does not.
He might in this occasion, maybe.
I don't think Netanyahu, if I went to Benjamin Netanyahu and I said,
well, I think he'll use
talk
him.
up Jesus to me, like, tell me about Jesus. Tell me about how important he is to this situation, to your religion, to your world. He would be like, he's not. Like, he doesn't matter. Like, the religion. And then that whole aspect of religion goes out the door, guys. Guys, it's all blood feud stuff over there now. Jay, it's all blood feud stuff. It's all you shot my dad or my brother and killed him, so I'm going to kill you. That's all it is now. And Donald Trump there to poke the bear, to try to hurt millions of people.
Like I said, the worst person to be in that position.
Absolutely one of the worst human beings that we've ever talked about on this show.
Not only callous and unempathetic, he's also dumb.
Now,
he doesn't
Jason,
know anything.
I don't have, before we hit the break, one small thing. I don't have this piece of information, but Ilhan Omar had put up a tweet basically saying that the United States of America is kind of becoming a crappy place to live. Okay?
Well, parts of it.
And she's right. She's 100%
Some of the people
right.
we have to deal with in the last 10 years.
And she was trending pretty high. And listen, I'll be the first to say that the AOCs, the Ilhan Omars, the Kamala Harrises, the people of color, the foreigners, anybody who rides on that line about these things in the United States of America, you're not wrong. You're 100% right. You're just 100% right. And let's talk about the real thing that you want to talk about. Those white men. White man. White man.
True.
There we are. All right. We had the 2024 election. Kamala Harris was up there, just like Hillary Clinton was. Lost to Donald Trump. The same Donald Trump creating all these G7 issues. The same one that's getting God text from Mike Huckabee. The same one that's doing all the bad things that lead to Vance Bullard killing Democrats up in Minnesota. All that just happened this weekend, guys. All just this weekend. Those are 3 full news stories out of most years
Yeah.
Right? One would be Vance Bolter shooting and killing these people. That would be back in May, right? Then here's the Israeli-Iran conflict. That comes up in August, right?
Yeah.
Then you got another one that pops up in October. And then, like, that's throughout the year. We got 3. That's one weekend. One weekend. It's not that you're foreign and you're wrong. It's not that you're a person of color and you're wrong. It's not any of those things. It's that the white men that have power right now do not want to hear from anyone that isn't white. I'm sorry. That's the way they're looking at everything. This is why you're Gavin Newsom in the eyes of the ICE protest. And over the last few days and last week of all that going down, he has skyrocketed. Someone we have both said on this show and talked about being that dude who would be there in 2028. We both said that on our old show. We've said that on this show.
Yeah,
we've been talking about how our boy Biden been losing a step since the summer of 2023.
Yeah, Newsom will definitely be in the conversation when 2028 rolls around.
But he punches, guys. I said it on the other show. What we loved about Joe Biden, he punches, but he's a white dude. He's a white dude that punches back. That's what the other people in the country were looking for. It's literally the reason I'm sitting here and Jason's sitting there. We punch back. We don't pull shots.
We punch up.
We punch up. We never punch down. We punch up. But we don't pull shots. We take the shots that hit us. Like, we deal with it. That's what the party was looking for. That's what the party needed. The silent part they weren't saying out loud was, it can't be you guys. That's the look that they just walk over the top of. Americans in 2025, Jason, where were you born?
73.
No, where were you born?
Oh, Iowa.
What country is that in?
That was the United States.
So your whole life you lived in the United States of America.
I have.
You've been a United States citizen?
Every day.
Do you think that you're from Mexico? Do you think
I'm
that you're
not.
from Ireland? Do you think that you're from China or Japan? Now, you have background. You know about your background.
Yeah, there's definitely
and
some
your
people I was
genealogy.
related to that are
Sure,
from
yeah, you
over
know
there.
about your genealogy
Yeah.
and your background of who you are, but it's not your identity. It's not where you're
No,
from.
no.
You didn't grow up in Ireland and now you're still
No, no.
rocking Ireland, right?
Like, in fact, everyone I've ever known in my life and my family were all born in the United States.
So they're all born in the United States too. Donald Trump was born in the United States just a long time ago. So were my mom and dad. So were their grandmas and grandpas. It just was the Wild West back when they were born. Still the United States. The same country that leads to these people. So if the majority of the United States is over 60% white, then the majority of the United States as a country, their background and makeup is white, is part of it. I'm not saying it's all of it, but it's part of it. It's a major part of it. So when it comes to running the country, I'm not saying, Jason's not saying, other white men are not saying, hey, foreign people, people of color, you don't have anything to say. What we're saying is you're not the right voice right now. That's not the right voice. Please speak up. Please keep your voice out there. Please keep doing what you're doing. We love this stuff. And when we come back from this break, we did get out there, Jason.
Yes, we did.
We talked to all those people about what it's like when it comes to America in 2025. We were at the No Kings protests here in the St. Louis area, and we got some video we want to show to you, and got a special thanks out to shout out there, too. We'll be back on the Occupy Democrat show right after this.
Welcome back to Occupy Democrats. I am still Jason Cole.
Yep, he's Jason Cole.
Yeah, no
for
body
sure.
snatching going on here. So,
Yes, Jason.
Trump had a big day on Saturday.
He did have a bit of a day on Saturday when he wasn't
Right?
telling people he wasn't going to call the governor.
He turned 79
Minnesota.
and the Army turned 250.
He turned how old?
79 Donald Trump is
God,
now.
that's really old
Yeah.
for someone to be in control of the auto
feeble.
pen. It's really
Yeah.
old, Jason. I don't
Cognitive
know how
decline.
anyone that old could possibly run the country of the United States of America.
Well, speaking of being old, he did fall asleep during his
He
parade.
did?
Yeah, a couple of times he was on
Well,
video doing
that's
that.
to be expected. He
Well,
falls
he's a
asleep at
79-year-old
meetings he's
man.
supposed to be at for important things.
Well, and if you figure he's up at 3 in the morning tweeting and stuff, when does he sleep? Got to do it during the day, during Pope funerals and
all those times,
all that
yes.
stuff. So go ahead and throw this video. This is a compilation video. So he had his military parade in Washington, D.C. on Saturday to commemorate the U.S. Army's 250th anniversary. But like we said, it also just happened to be Donald Trump's 79th birthday. It was a lackluster event, to put it kindly. Videos have shown the low attendance, even catching the president as he appeared to be sleeping, like I said. Multiple reports describe the parade as having a smaller than expected turnout, with crowds appearing modest despite the event's high profile, they said. Some estimates are only about 10,000 people showed up, for far less than what might be expected for such an event. It should be pointed out that TikTok users, like during the 2020 campaign, and other activists claimed credit for inflating expectations by reserving tickets without attending. Not sure how that would affect the turnout, but
Fair.
I see how it affects what they thought they
The
were
way
gonna
Donald
get.
Trump views it,
Yes,
yeah.
what the expectations were. But like I said, this would only inflate the projected numbers and has nothing to do with anybody showing up. Sources, including social media posts, claim that the parade, as you see some of that, was a last-minute addition to the Army's anniversary plans. They did not
Wait a
plan
second.
on doing this.
The parade for Donald Trump's birthday
Yes.
wasn't a part of the original plans
It
for the
was not.
military's plans on how they wanted to celebrate their 200. So see, he takes their plans away from them, switches it up, adds this to it.
Yes.
Because, guys, they have to have these streets for the tanks to roll down to look cool. None of this exists according to the Army's plans prior to Trump
No.
asking for it. So you wouldn't have had streets like that with this situation. Maybe a parade somewhere, maybe not.
Maybe.
We don't know.
And you could see how in the formation they're walking, you can tell they don't normally practice this. Our Army doesn't do this.
They're
a
not
lot.
even walking lockstep.
No,
Jason.
so that says to me that there's some truth to that they had to do this in short order. So that's what some are saying that was leading to an inadequate preparation and training, which contributed to the disorganized look that you see on the screen. And make no mistake about it, this parade looked ridiculous and was not something fitting of our military men and women. The event was estimated to cost up to $45 million, raised ethical questions due to sponsorship by brands. If you see the grandstand when they come by again, such as Dana White of the UFC. UFC had
Yeah,
their
it was
logo
important. It was important to make sure the UFC got
Right.
promotion at this
Huge.
birthday party. Why? Why would the UFC need promotion at some random birthday party, Jason?
They don't. No.
They don't. They literally don't. Everyone knows who the UFC is. If they want to watch guys fighting,
Right.
they'll look it up on their phone.
Well,
That's
and,
it.
and what are they promoting? What are we raising? Like, as a country, we can't afford to put on this parade. We need sponsorship.
Evidently.
It's more back scratching, quid pro quo stuff like we like to talk about. Trump was reportedly furious about the parade's poor reception, posting on social media the night of about expanding efforts to detain and deport immigrants in major cities, blue cities, suggesting the event's failure stung him personally. So sorry for that.
JC, and this is what I hate about reality. And this is what Donald Trump doesn't understand about reality. At a time period in the 1950s when you were a kid, yes, we could lie about how many deer we killed each year. We could lie about how many fish we caught on the boat
sure.
that week. We could lie about how many people were at 3 towns over at their local watermelon picking festival.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Trust me, we can do that. It's 2025. We got the stats for all of it now, bro. Literally stats from every sporting event that happens the night before online by the time the game's over. Every bat, every ball that was at, like, every sport, it doesn't matter what it was. We don't need for Donald Trump to go on his social media and inflate anything or lie about anything or try to like pump anything up.
No, it's right there.
You all are speaking. 11 million people came out to the No Kings protest
That is true.
over the weekend. That's 1 to 2% of the population came out to specifically say that the president, it wasn't about ICE, it wasn't about deportations. We said it was called No Kings for a reason, no king.
Yes.
Donald Trump wants to be a king, no kings. We don't have kings. It's about Donald Trump. 11 million people.
And
11 million people showed up in force on a random Saturday, 6 months into his first term, to stand around and say, this man sucks, I hate him. Now, either the liberals are just better at supporting their candidates, or there seems to be something going on with the conservative party and how they're winning their elections. Could be gerrymandering. It could be rigged computers. It could be a few things. You might go, but Mark, this is Occupy Democrats. You can't be conspiratorial. Joe Biden was elected president. They said it was a rigged election. Millions across the country. Every damn time I turned around in the state of Missouri, another person who's a red state supporter was telling me how Biden rigged it.
well,
Obama helped him. Everybody was against him. Now,
Mike Lindell just lost $2 more million because of a rigged election today.
let me ask you a question, Jay.
Yes.
77 million people came out and voted for Donald Trump in the 2024 election. If 1% of that didn't like Joe Biden, couldn't you guys gotten out there and protested over that 4 years?
Yeah,
couldn't there have been
never did.
no king style rallies on the conservative side for you to hate that liberal, that libtard, that whatever you like to call it? Couldn't there have been 3 million Trump supporters in the streets peacefully protesting with all the LEO being their best friends, all sitting there talking kumbaya together? You guys could have been doing that for years. You didn't.
See,
You just went on social media and complained about it, and that was it. That was the end of it. There was nothing else. Our people get in the streets. That's how you know liberals are right, because it means something to them.
well, and conservatives, you can't come out and protest things that aren't true.
Right?
You can't protest fake things that you think Joe Biden's doing and you don't like it.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Like, this is real stuff. We know Donald Trump's doing it because
First off,
we've seen him.
that's Brandon.
That
Brandon's
is
doing
Brandon.
it,
I just
Jason.
Brandon
So
does that.
it's not Joe, it's Brandon. Brandon does a lot of bad things. Dark Brandon, too. There's Dark Brandon.
But not only that many people, but it was spread out in all 50 states. It's the first time in
50
history that all 50 states had a protest for a sitting president.
So if you want to know how that many people came out after his first term and were just 100% against him, and it was 10 million more votes for Biden than Trump, and you can't figure out where they came from, there they are in the street this past weekend.
We met
there
some of
they
them.
are, but there they are. That's how it works. That's how we get those people out there. That's how this happens, ladies and gentlemen. You want to know where they're at? There they were. That's your 10 million votes. That's your extra people. That's the people that are like, hey, we're willing to go to war for this. We're willing to get out there in them streets, purple hair and all. Call them gay. Call them whatever you want. Call them a piece of crap foreigner that you hate, you want to be deported. I don't care what you call them. Just understand they were out there.
They were.
In your face, in your police officer's face, letting you all know, hey, yo, this exists. We are something. And by the way, it was an amazing situation to be a part of, Jason.
No, it was. We were out there for almost 2 hours and never once needed a police officer.
We were there from the minute, I was there from the minute it started until 1:45 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And that, according to our flyers we saw, was from 11 to 1.
To 1.
Is what it said. Other people said they said 1:30, but I never saw. I was there to 1:45, so they stayed for almost 3 hours
Yeah, they were there.
just to do the same thing. And by the way, I was at a much smaller protest in the St. Louis area. There was the downtown one.
Yes.
There were major cities across the country that had hundreds of thousands of people come out to protest Donald Trump and his policies.
Yeah, this was St. Peters, Missouri. About 50,000 people.
The St. Charles protest this way.
Yeah, St. Charles, St. Peters.
This area out this way.
Altogether, total, this area is about 150,000 people between 3 or 4 towns.
Right.
So that just shows that many people came out to protest the sitting president in that little town.
Now, we're going to play a video here. We want to
Yes.
give a big shout out to our friend Emma. Thank you
Yes.
so much to Emma, our videographer. She did an amazing
Filmed it
job
and edited it for us.
that day. And then we turned around and popped it up on Occupy Democrats. So why don't you guys take a view of us being out at the No Kings?
At the No Kings protest, and this is the No Kings protest. That's the No Kings protest.
I'm Ashley Salazar. I'm with Veterans for Peace, Chapter 61, St. Louis.
All the lies and the media is not covering all that.
He thinks we're paid protesters. He needs to get a grip. Free speech and public assembly, and most importantly, building community among our neighbors, which is what we're doing here right now.
Jason,
was a good
wouldn't
time.
you say that there was probably there were probably about, I would say when it was all said and done from end to end on that street, there were probably about 2,000 to 3,000 people that
Probably
showed
close
up
to it. I mean, it was-
along the street from end to end, and that was just at our protest.
Yeah, it was at least 4 city blocks,
Yeah,
both
well,
sides of the street,
yeah,
shoulder
guys,
to shoulder.
I would say a quarter of a mile and
Yeah.
about 1,500, 2,000, maybe edging on 2,500 people showed up in this one specific area that we were at. That's where we did a lot of our interviews and focus, but
Yeah,
that was one of, from what I know, 12 or 13 that were in the area that day. We weren't even at the biggest one in our area, and we weren't even at the downtown one, which is the biggest one for St. Louis. So that's to tell you guys
Yeah.
right there how many people really were showing up and coming out, even in random smaller spots, just to say they hate this.
Yeah, well, this is a red state area.
Yep.
Imagine, New York, Chicago, even in LA, the bigger cities and blue states, they really had turnout.
Yep.
I was really appreciative of our turnout, though. And if you notice in the video, no one's dressed alike. They're not all wearing the same shirt.
They all have
carrying
their
the
own
same
thing going on, yeah.
flags, the same hats, like those guys.
They even
doing
had their own they even had their own little
got this,
pamphlets and stuff. Yeah.
Go ahead and throw up that. This is a acronym. A gentleman by the name of Bill gave me this piece of paper. Make America tolerant, constitutional, honest, uncorrupt, and secular again. Match USA. Do a hashtag for that.
Match USA.
He's got
MATCH USA.
He's got it in here of what it means and everything. And
Well, we do want us to be more tolerant, right?
of course.
But like I said, we're going to have the right people saying it to the right people so that they start understanding we mean the tolerance. See, I know I went on before this about the whole foreigners versus white persons, or this, that, the other. I want the right people saying it so that it gets into their ears, so that they start to wake up.
Yes.
I need the Match USA to go into the ear of a Donald Trump on this side, resonate for a bit, and stay. Less in one ear, out the other. They're going to look at foreigners who tell them this, or anybody like that. I don't care what you think because you don't look like me. Try to tell me and Jason we don't look like you, and we're going to have a much different conversation with you about what we're talking about, because we're talking about getting this country back on track.
Yes.
Tolerant, constitutional, the right way, the right things, like Match USA was saying.
Yeah.
That's why. Hashtag Match
Put
USA.
it out there.
That's what I want to see, ladies and gentlemen. Hashtag Match USA. Now, Jason, one thing that is funny about this No King stuff, and ladies and gentlemen, there's not a lot to say about the No King stuff. It was very simple. A lot of people came out, way more than Donald Trump wanted. A lot of people spoke their minds and told everybody that he sucks. That's what the No Kings protest was. That's what we saw a lot of that day. Simple as that. What we didn't get to see a lot of is his parade, Jason.
No.
We didn't get to see a lot of Donald
We did
Trump's
not.
parade. And I happened to have somebody go take a camera and station it close by a parade route section. And I want you guys to take a listen to as the tanks rolled by us. And everybody pay attention to the huge with a Y, huge crowds. Oh, we don't have that one? Oh.
Well, I encourage everyone then to go on YouTube and do a search. Just do Squeaky Tank. If you search Squeaky Tank, you will that video, that moment encompasses his first 6 months, his first beginning of this second term. It's just one tank and a sparse crowd.
How did we not get the Squeaky Tank up there?
Squeaky Tank rolling along, and there's nobody there. And in fact, there's so little people
there. It's
there
the most pathetic thing I've ever seen.
that you can hear the tank clear as day.
Squeaking.
Yeah.
As it
and
drives along.
There's nobody clapping. There's nobody cheering. And like I said before, it's just so unfitting for the men and women of the U.S. Army to have this disaster put out in front of the world, pretty much. It's just, it's demeaning, and it's all for one man's just
ego.
Yeah, his
narcissism.
That's exactly what it is. And he couldn't even stay awake for it.
And you would think, ladies and gentlemen, that people like me and Jason over here, you would think that we're the narcissists, that we're the egomaniacs. We're the ones that host a show that gets seen by millions of people and talked about to each person, and people were coming up to us at the No Kings thing, and we're like, hey, we've seen you guys on there, and we really love what you do, and it's great to talk to you, and we're happy to see you out here. Like, we should be those guys. The guy who's the most narcissistic and doesn't get enough is already president of the United States.
See, the difference...
Already president of the United States.
Well, the difference between him and people like you and I are that we just want to help bring about change. We don't need to be the reason for change. I just want to be a part of making things better. And removing Trump from our daily lives is how we do this better. And right now he's president, so what we're going to have to do is just ignore him. Ignore him and show him how much he is disliked. Show him what he's doing is not acceptable.
Jason, you know how far ahead of the curb you and me are on that statement that you just made? Let me explain. And Jason knows this well, ladies and gentlemen. Jason, in 2016, after that election,
yes,
you were on my show.
I was.
It was back when I had my own show. Jason was a guest. He was a younger man. A younger man that was, he was interested in being on shows, and he wanted to be on the show, so I had him come on the show. But one of the things we had was you on right after Donald Trump was elected in 2016. We were blown away.
Yeah.
We couldn't believe it. And we had already spent a year and a half at that point talking about Donald Trump incessantly for a year and a half. And it got on our nerves. Like, you and me were like frazzled. Like, it had really burned us down. And if you remember, we went on that show and we specifically said, ladies and gentlemen, if we really wanted to do justice to Donald Trump for this win and the way this all worked out and the way this all goes down, we would just never talk about him again on this show. And we would spend the next 4 years avoiding every time Donald Trump's name would come up. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. That's how you fix Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, Nancy Mace, Donald Trump. You just don't worry about them. You don't play their stuff. You don't even put up their tweets. Now, we do that on this show because we do a show specifically geared for this.
Yeah, that's what
you don't have to do that at your job at the bank.
No,
you don't have to do that at your job at the firehouse. You don't have to do that at your job, putting in the numbers for the data company. You don't.
Speaking of like not giving people oxygen and they go away, you just mentioned someone that I haven't heard anything from in a while. Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Well, yeah, she's now like in charge of things. Like finally her boys got in, so they put her in positions of power.
So she actually has to do a job.
She just screams a lot.
She has no time for this Twitter stuff.
And with the Kash Patels of America going out of their way to do investigations on the dumbest things from 50 to 60, 70, 80, 100 years ago that we don't care about in 2025. Like right now, we're worried about Israel, Iran, and how that conflict will fall out. We're worried about this guy up in Minnesota and how that situation is going to fall out for the political side. People like me and Jason who work in this world on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. So, like, we're worried about those things. I really don't care about if Hunter Biden's cocaine was what was in the White House a year ago.
No.
Because it doesn't matter. Like, Hunter Biden's cocaine, Hunter Biden's not there. Joe Biden's not there. None of them are there. None of them have power, full control of the House and the Senate. Like, once again, we'll throw it right back on you every time, Donald Trump. You have complete control. You don't have any control in Tehran or Iran and Israel. You have no control in Russia and Ukraine. You have control here, but not very much. And now the people of America are starting to show you that you have no control here. You're out, dude. If I'm Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, or J.D. Vance, you've lost your value. I'm sorry, I don't need you. I've got millions and billions of dollars here, more than you, because I had to give you money to win. So I know you ain't got the money, so you're gone. Your name ringed value after your BS election rigging stuff. But outside of that, now you've done all this. It's just alienated everybody. You've got so many CEOs, Jason, that you've put down off of your list over the last few weeks.
Yes.
Who have lost so much money because of moves Donald Trump has made, the things he's done and said.
Yes.
Their companies and their businesses, because of tariffs and everything, have lost hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars across the board.
Yeah.
All these different brands and different businesses and companies.
And, only some of them are brave enough to stick up for themselves. Some of them just take it.
And that's the issue I have. Some of you are afraid to stick up for yourself. Why? You never wrestled anyone? You never fought anyone? Never been punched? You don't know what a punch feels like? Come on now. Nobody likes to be punched. I don't like to be punched.
No, but sometimes you have to.
But you get punched in the face, you just... I'll hit Jason right now as hard as I just punched myself. I swear to God. And Jason will go, ow. I'm not even trying to be funny. I'll do it. I'm not going to do it to him right now. Like, I could. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't mind punching myself so hard you can literally hear the crack as my knuckles hit the face. Do you understand there are a lot of people like me out there? I'm just one dude. I'm just sitting here. And I'm having a conversation as I keep punching myself in the face. Like, you're not catching on. We get it. America is, like Ilhan Omar said, it's becoming a place that's not great to be in.
She's not far off. In certain areas of this country, it is probably miserable.
And so let me do it for you, Ilhan. America is not becoming a great place to be in anymore, guys. No. I live here. I love America. We're patriotic. In fact,
of course.
I actually turned people. Remember on this show, I said, hey, bring American flags.
Yeah.
Bring American flags.
We're taking it back.
There was a guy that was out there. He was flying some other stuff around. He had an American flag with him. Me and him got to talking. Jason was off with somebody else. We got to talking, and another lady walks up, and I started explaining to him, next time, bring whistles to save your voice. Do what the French do. Guys, learn from history. Do not what Napoleon Bonaparte did or Donald Trump. Do what the other type of people that do, like Macron and the people that run countries and are respected. Like, do what Carney and them do, Trudeau and them do. Like, do that. That's what you need to do. Don't listen to these losers over here.
No, not at all.
These guys are ruining your country on a day-to-day basis. And there are a lot of people out there that are willing to fight. They're willing to fight hard for our country, Jason.
Well, and if you follow those people, you're just putting yourself in the mud. And starting in the mud is a bad place to begin.
Speaking of people that put themselves in the mud, one last thing I want to show people before we get out of here. Do you have one over there that says Newsom, Jason Smith? Pop that up on my screen for me real quick. This is a representative from the state of Missouri named Jason Smith. And he had put up a post to Gavin Newsom that said, Governor, I suggest focusing on the lawlessness and crime in LA and San Francisco instead of auditioning for the 2028 presidential primary with state talking points. Or stale. It says state or stale? Stale. Talking points. He turns around and comes back and says, your state's homicide rate is 117% higher than California's.
Too stupid to know that they're stupid.
Missouri. Statistics we can pull up on our phone instantaneously. You rip off a dumb thing like that trying to get your name out there. Yeah, Gavin Newsom noticed. But Jason Smith, we're here in St. Louis, Missouri, Jason, right here where we broadcast. Why don't you get a hold of us and come sit down with us? Yeah. Say your comments to Gavin Newsom to us. Remember,
it's back.
Remember, we'll be here. We'll hear you out. If you don't slap hard enough, might not matter. That's the point we're trying to make. Like, it's becoming you guys making these things up, Jason,
Yes.
for the country, saying that he's running for 2028. He's this. No, you're talking about it. Just like the Let's Go Brandon stuff. You're online. You're talking to your Facebook friends. You're talking to Twitter and TikTok and all those people. You are. They're telling you the same things that you're telling them. You're not hearing it from Mark and Jason or Cav and Newsom and a bunch of people. You don't know what you're talking about.
You know, that tweet from that rep just shows how they live in their little bubble.
Super small, tiny bubble.
And they throw out their little one-liners they love.
Yep.
And one of them is, L.A. and San Francisco are crime-ridden.
Everything in
they
LA.
Don't pay attention to their
South
own
side
state.
Of Chicago.
Yep.
South side of
Yep.
Chicago is always the worst
That's
place
it.
on
It's
earth.
worse. It's worse.
The
Meanwhile,
worst.
these other reps from these smaller
Only
towns.
because they have the White Sox, right? Right.
That's
right.
yeah, well, I mean, the Pope
That's
likes
fair.
them, but that's about it.
The Pope likes
I have a few
them. I mean,
selected members of my family, but that's
That's
just a few things.
Whatever.
But thank God for the Rockies.
There you go.
It's just hope.
My
White
point
Sox.
being, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another amazing episode of the Q. Or I was going to say the wrong show. I've been bringing it up of Occupy Democrat Show. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Occupy Democrat Show. I want to make sure that all of you know that you can follow us on social media.
Yes,
Jason.
you can.
You can follow us right down there
Yeah.
at Mark Bland.
Look at
Those
that.
are my names. That's his
There.
stuff.
Yep.
We do
Feather
things.
Bangs on Twitter. Jason
Yep.
Cole on all others.
There it is.
Search my name. We'll become friends.
Don't forget, more things will happen between now and Thursday. We're going to come and talk to you about all those things on Thursday, but make sure you follow us, these guys right here, Occupy Democrats Show, at Occupy Democrats, all of the social media platforms, every Tuesday and Thursday, 4:30 p.m. We will see you guys next time on the show.